Hugh Freeze's comments at his presser on Monday should make Auburn fans feel better about the defense.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a bonus pod. Just wanted to hop on for a few minutes and react to some of Hugh Freeze's comments that he made Monday at his weekly presser. Of course, previewing Arkansas and recapping that win against New Mexico. Obviously gave an injury update and a terrible update for Brandon Frasier. What does that mean for him in the tight end room? That's coming up, as well as Freeze being very, very high, very positive on new quarterback one, starting quarterback Hank Brown. But to me, the thing that I said after the game, he touched on it on Monday. Kayin Lee, it sounds like Auburn's starting corner will be back against Arkansas. He said it was a calf strain and said that he possibly could have gone this past week, but they held him out, which does check out. He went through warmups. He was fully dressed out, obviously didn't play, and there was so much attention on Auburn's corners last week. They asked Keontae Scott to be a number one corner against New Mexico, and that's just not who he is. That's not who he is. He's a middle-of-the-field defender that they have asked to move to outside corner, or it sounds like Keontae Scott wanted to play outside corner, and so we'll see exactly what happens with that. But I said this in the past with Auburn's wide receivers, where there wasn't a wide receiver one. And so you had a bunch of wide receiver twos and wide receiver threes. Kayin Lee is a cornerback one. I don't think Keontae Scott is. Antonio Kite is not right now. Jalen Crawford isn't right now. I do think he will eventually be a really solid high-end cornerback before he's done in Auburn. But he's played, 3 games? He's played 3 games so far. He's just not at that point. So I think Kayin Lee expecting to be back. Freeze's quote was, Kayin Lee, I would expect to play. He probably could have gone in, but we chose to hold him out if we could. His is a calf strain, but I feel confident he will try to return this week. And if that's the case, obviously it takes some pressure off of Keontae Scott. It takes some pressure off of Antonio Kite, and it takes some pressure off of Jay Crawford. So to me, I think that is a huge win. It's a huge win. Hugh Freeze was very, very high on Arkansas's offense, particularly their quarterback. Talk about how dynamic he is, and it's going to be a lot to stop them. Also talked about Petrino's offense. He said he hasn't watched the offense yet, but he was watching their defense. And so it's going to be interesting to see what exactly they do. Here's a quote. I was trying to find it. What makes him so different? Let's talk about Petrino and his offense, Arkansas's offensive coordinator. What makes him so different is he is typically a very good mixture of the pro style offense with some of the college flair in it, and doing it out of a lot of mixed sets with a lot of tight ends that present extra gaps in the run game. Yet he's able to throw to all 3 level routes and play action off of it. Also, if you can get 12 personnel in and be effective in the running the ball and taking shots, that's scary. That's a scary world to live in. So we'll see. He also credited DJ Durkin. I think it was Hokanson asked about, like, okay, the defense has given up a lot of stuff in the first half, not in the second half. What's going on with that? And he credited DJ Durkin and his ability to make in-game adjustments, which is kind of hard to argue against that so far. And so to me, like, I understand why we're upset about the defense, and some of the things that they're doing do leave us scratching their head, but they are more productive over the course of the game. It was even that way against Cal. The defense did enough for Auburn to beat Cal. That was on the offense. So I just think perspective on this is super, super important. But yeah, I think Kayin Lee being back is going to help with a lot of this, especially with what Arkansas likes to do on the offensive side of the ball. And just staying on the topic of the defense, he gave Caleb Harris a lot of love. I think it was like that last question or second last question of the press conference. Caleb Harris was a guy that, was he even going to be a guy that they wanted to be a part of this class? And yeah, I mean, he's exceptional. He's exceptional. Called him an alpha dog. Like, it's strong. He also thought Jay Crawford was good, which I agree. I think Jay Crawford is a future star. Been pretty consistent with that. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that stuff specifically. Obviously, Freeze is high on Hank Brown. He said, hey, there's a few things that he needs to work on. And it's the stuff that we kind of pinpointed after the game. And on Sunday's show, he pointed out the one where he rolled out of the pocket and he threw into triple coverage. But outside of that, it sounds like there were 3 things that Freeze said he needed to work on. And so obviously that's going to be good. And he kind of defended his quarterback, saying Perry dropped one and, certain things didn't go the right way. But I thought it was telling how high he was on Hank Brown. And then he talked about him having that it factor when he recruited him to go to Liberty, which if you listen to the show, I've been talking about that for 2 years at this point. So 100% agree with that. Yeah, so Freeze being pleased with Hank. Kane Lee coming back is huge. But yeah, let's talk about some of the injuries, specifically with Brandon Frasier. And it's awful. It's the worst news of the day, and it's not close. Let's jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Look, 5 Hour Energy, it helps you get through the day. It doesn't matter if you've got to tackle a to-do list at home or if it's a bunch of lists. It's a bunch of stuff on a list at work of just stuff you don't want to do. 5 Hour Energy it's motivation in a bottle, baby. It was 0 sugar and a convenient portable size is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. They've got so many different flavors on their website. You're going to love all of it. So be sure to check that out. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. You get some 5 Hour Energy product today. And you can use my code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th. So go ahead and do that. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use our code LOCKEDONCFB. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook right now. You can bet $5. Anybody can bet $5 at FanDuel, and you'll get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Right now, Auburn is a 3.5-point favorite against Arkansas. So if you think the Tigers cover, go ahead and head over to FanDuel and, make your money work for you. Visit FanDuel.com. That's America's #1 sportsbook. The worst news of the day, we heard of, he talked about Frasier potentially breaking his foot after the game when Freeze spoke to the media. It sounds like that's the case. He's having a procedure done this week. He's getting a plate or something put into it. So Freeze said he's going to be out for an extended period of time. We don't talk about Brandon Frasier much on this show. And like most solid tight ends, they do a lot of stuff away from the football that you don't always see. But I really like Brandon Frasier, or players like Brandon Frasier are the good part of college football. And for all the folks that are anti-transfer portal and anti-NIL and anti all this fluidity that's active in the college game, you guys should love Brandon Frasier. I mean, this is a guy that he's been here for forever, but he's a dude who is just stuck through these coaching changes and all of these lows that he's experienced since he's been here throughout football. And he could have left and got a larger role. In fact, for the first 3 or 4 seasons that he was here, we would say, yeah, we expect him to transfer out. We expect him to transfer out. And he never did. He never did. He always stayed put because I think some of these kids, they just like Auburn. Like he just wants to be a student athlete. Maybe he just wants to be at Auburn. Maybe it's not all about playing time. And for Frasier, that must have been the case. And he was kind of rewarded from that last year because he earned a role and he made the most of it. And we've kind of saw him do that so far this year as well. And I hate this. Like you never want anybody to get hurt, but this one I hate more than others. I mean, I think the world of Brandon Frasier and his devotion to Auburn and him just kind of saying, hey, we're just gonna stay put. I've committed to Auburn. I said the same thing about Camden Brown in spring and fall. Just college football needs more guys like Brandon Frasier, in my opinion. Hugh Freeze did say something interesting. He said, we really want to go big at tight end. And we were just getting to the discussion before he had to go out there. But we need someone with that build to put on a jersey that resembles a tight end. I don't know if he's hinting at moving somebody over to tight end in certain packages. I don't know, but that's kind of interesting to think about. Do you get a smaller lineman? Do you get a larger receiver? Do you go get somebody from defense? I just think that'd be an interesting conversation to have. So we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. We'll see what that looks like. So yeah, those were kind of my three takeaways from Freeze's presser earlier today. Kane Lee being back should be huge for the defense against Arkansas. Freeze seems to be high on everything that he saw from Hank Brown, which is hard to blame him, but it's all about what happens this week. The level of competition definitely goes up a tick for sure. And then Brandon Frasier missing some time. That stinks. I wish him the quickest recovery in the world. So, hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.